Good day, learners! In this video, we will be discussing 3 lessons. The first lesson will be Lesson 6, Instructional Planning Cycle. The second will be Lesson 7, Instructional Planning Models for Teaching English. And the last one will be Lesson 8, Thematic Approach to Instructional Planning. I am Nesrine Muben and I will be the one to discuss the Lesson 6.
Lesson 6 Instructional Planning Cycle. Objectives. In this lesson, you will be able to identify the instructional planning cycle, explain how the planning cycle plays in the planning for instruction, and explore implementation techniques at the stage of the cycle.
In the previous lesson, we learned about instructional planning and its components. As you may have guessed, planning for classroom instruction needs to consider several factors for it to become more effective. In this lesson, we shall be looking into the instructional planning cycle and how the planning process could help guide teachers in developing their lessons. Planning for instruction is one of the fundamental skills of the teacher. Therefore, it is important for the teacher to make sure that his or her plans for instruction are well thought of. To add, planning for instruction does not only stick to what students will learn but also how they will learn. This is to ensure that teachers are prepared to meet the students' learning goal or learning outcomes. So the figure below shows the instructional planning cycle. As you can see, the first step in instructional planning cycle is the learning objectives. In this phase, the teacher decides the content of the lesson, meaning to say, the teacher uses various tools to design comprehensive lesson plans that meet the curriculum objectives of institutions and their communities. So I've mentioned a while ago, the teacher will create a lesson plan that will serve as the roadmap of teaching and learning process. And take note that the teacher should inculcate the 3 domains in creating the learning objectives. And these are the first, cognitive, which is the knowledge, affective, which is the attitude, psychomotor, which is the motor skills. Moreover, the lesson should be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bounded or SMART. And through this, it enables the teacher to thoughtfully address individual learning needs among students, and it allows the teacher to translate the curriculum into learning activities. The second step is the assessment strategies. In this phase, the teacher will identify how can the learners demonstrate their understanding and or achievement of the learning objectives. Meaning, this step assesses the learning of the students to determine if the learning objectives was attained. This is also the way to know if the teaching strategies that the teacher used is effective to the learning needs of the students. There are several assessment strategies that the teacher used in the classroom, like placement assessment. This assessment usually done at the beginning of the school year to determine what the students already know or what are their needs that could inform design of instruction. The best example of this assessment is giving a pre-test to the learners. Another example is the formative assessment. This assessment is done during the instruction for the teachers to assess learners' understanding. By this, it allows the teachers to make adjustments to their instructional process and strategies to facilitate learnings. The example for this is asking questions during the discussion. The last example of the assessment is the summative assessment. So this assessment is done at the end of the lesson to determine whether the learner's mastery of content or attained learning outcomes. This provides both quality and quantity information of what the students have learned or achieved at the end of the instruction, like giving a quiz, periodical examination, and the written reflection. Overall, this phase plans on how the teachers provide creative activities before, during, and after the lesson. The next step is instructional activities. In this phase, the teacher begins to think about how to teach the learners. The teacher will now plan the teaching strategies and learning activities that will use in the classroom. Meaning to say, it is the instruction that specify how the teachers and students will participate and how they will interact with the materials and content. Instructional activities can motivate students and help them focus attention, organize information for understanding and remembering, monitor and assess learning. It also encouragement to self-monitor and self-correct. It is also a tool for reflecting on and assessing own learning. It is significant for the teacher to think of a creative way in deliberating his or her lesson to make it more effective and fun for the learners, for his or her students to become independent and strategic learners. Lastly, the reflection. In this step, the teacher review what has happened at the implementation of the plan. The teacher can use data from the observations to make adjustments and improve the next instructional plan. This phase, the teacher will make judgment whether the learners have met intended learning outcomes after the instruction is fully implemented.
Lesson 7 Instructional Planning Models for Teaching English. Objectives. In this lesson, you will be able to identify various instructional planning models used in teaching English, compare instructional planning models identified, and adopt a model in designing one's own instructional plan.
So as previously mentioned, one of the major skills a teacher needs to learn is to plan his/her instruction. These models will serve as a guide in order for them to think about ways of making sure that the learners under their care are ensured of the learning expected of them in the classroom. The instructional planning models help to define the elements and activities that would guide the development of instruction. So, ADDIE model is one of the popular models in instructional planning because of its simplicity and practicality. This model is not just used in classroom but also in program and analyzing existing curricula. So, ADDIE model has 5 elements and it is the analysis, the design, development, implementation, and also the evaluation. So, analysis is where the instructional goals and objectives are established. So, dapat din yung learning environment ng bata is maganda or malinis para makapag-focus sila at mas mabilis mong malalaman yung skills and knowledge nila o kung ano o saan sila belong. So, the teachers analyze the context of the learning environment in order to identify these factors. So, there are some questions that need to be answered in this phase, just like who are the learners and what are their characteristics? What learning outcomes are expected? What are the constraints that exist? What materials are available and how much time is available? So, in design phase, it deals with creating an outline of the instructions. So, this is where the learning objectives, learning content, strategies to be used, activities, materials, and other media needed are put in place. So, the lesson should be precise and accurate that will be delivered to the learners. So, in the development phase is where the activities, materials, media, and other content necessary to deliver the instruction based on the design phase are put together. It means the delivery of the lesson should be determined by the design phase.
So the implementation stage or implementation phase refers to the actual delivery of the instruction, whether it's the classroom-based or computer-based instruction. The purpose of this implementation is to effective and efficient delivery of instruction. Also in this phase, preparing the learners and arranging the learning space are very important. And it is a session to prepare the learners, of course, and make sure that they have the tools and knowledge that necessarily to participate in the class, and this phase must promote the student understanding of materials and of course to support the student mastery of the objectives. So during the implementation phase, the instruction is given to the learners and the teachers should take some time to observe how the learners react to the instruction provided to them. And the last phase is the ADDIE model, is the evaluation phase. Evaluation measured effectiveness and efficiency of instruction. So, dito na natin malalaman kung may natutunan ba ang mga bata sa itinuran natin. For instance, after mo, tinuro lesson mo, nagpa-quiz ka or activity, then you as a teacher analyze the results, kung may nakuha ba silang mababang scores, then you make appropriate adjustment in the next lessons.
The Kemp design model. Gerald Kemp, he was born in 1921, served in World War II, came home and obtained his first degree in chemistry. He went on to get further degrees and teach at the college level, but his first job was actually teaching junior high science. He used his passion for audio and visual techniques to capture the interest of his students and capture the interest of his peers. And this began his career in impacting the instructional design process. The Kemp instructional design method was originally created in 1985 and it was modified a few years later in 1994. It has been used historically in the business sector to accomplish various goals. According to Kemp, there are 9 key steps elements, or sometimes they are referred to as phases, and they're all listed. Here, the one thing that makes his model unique and different is that you do not start at the top and work your way down. It's not a linear process. These 9 steps are actually not interrelated directly with each other. So you could actually begin from any of steps. So his historical model looks a little bit more like this. It is the same exact terms except it's laid out much differently, and it gives it this cycle approach instead of a process where you go from the start to the finish. Instructional problems is, we normally refer to this as identifying a problem or a goal, and more so in education. We try focus on the goal, so we often refer to this as the learning outcomes. And learner characteristics. This is the basic understanding of your learner. Includes age, learning style, and prior knowledge. Task analysis. What are the topics and the procedures that should be used to help the student meet his or her goals? Instructional objectives. This is the portion where measurable and specific learning objectives are established that are directly aligned to assisting the learner to achieve the overall goals. Content sequencing. Basically, this is the order of the content, and what that means is what skills are needed to accomplish the next task or a goal. Many of our skills build upon each other. So this is where we decide what needs to be taught first, and second and third to overall accomplish our goals. Instructional strategies. In the field of education, we look for what is the best way to deliver or present this material that will help the students accomplish the goal or understand the concept we usually want. Instructional strategies that are reliable and research-based. Designing the message. Basically, This is the design of the material. So this includes designing each graphic, chart, picture, flowchart in a meaningful way that will help maximize the understanding. Development of instruction. This is basically the compiling of the resources, all the handouts, website, videos, labs, and etc. that will be used. Evaluation instruments. This is where you establish and determine what is assessment can be used to see if the learner has met the goal. This includes informal and formal assessments.
ARCS model. Okay, so what is ARCS? ARCS is a motivational design and problem-solving approach that was developed by John Keller. Okay, this model focuses on the 4 steps for promoting and sustaining motivational throughout the learning process. ARCS is an acronym for attention, relevance, confidence, and satisfaction. Okay, so attention. This refers to the interest of the learners. Keller suggested that attention could be obtained either by perceptual arousal or by inquiry arousal. In the case of perceptual arousal, the learner's attention would be gained by surprise, doubt, or disbelief. For inquiry arousal, the learner's curiosity would be stimulated by challenging problems that needed to be solved. In order to grab and hold learners' attention, a variety of methods could be employed, including: first, active participation; second, use of humor; third, conflict; fourth, variety. The arcs of modal relevance. A successful e-learning course design must establish relevance in order to motivate learners. To accomplish this, e-learning professionals are encouraged to use language, analogies, or stories to which the learner can relate. Okay. The following relevant strategies were suggested by Keller in the ARCS model of motivation. First, perceive present worth. Second, perceive future usefulness. Third, modeling. And the fourth, choice. The ARCS model of confidence. This is the third. Okay. Instructional designers should instill a sense of confidence in learners by helping them to believe that they can succeed. If learners feel as though they won't be able to accomplish their goals, then this will reduce their motivation. Here are some ways in which instructional designers can plan for e-learning activities that raise learners' degree of confidence. First, facilitate self-growth. Second, provide feedback. Third, control. Give control to the learners. Okay, the last one is the ARCS model of satisfaction. This last component of Keller's ARCS model of motivation is satisfaction. The ARCS model presents a direct link between satisfaction and level of motivation, either intrinsic or extrinsic. Learners should be proud and satisfied of what they have achieved through the e-learning course. Here are some strategies on how the instructional design can be adapted towards this direction. First, praise or rewards immediate. Second, the application.
Lesson 8, Thematic Approach to Instructional Planning. Objectives. In this lesson, you will be able to identify the steps to implement thematic approach to planning, design an instructional plan using the thematic approach, and understand the value of the use of thematic approach to instructional planning.
Number 1, choosing a theme. This is where the teacher or even the learners decide what would be the focus theme of the unit or lesson, so that themes about the particular topic should be of interest to student and relevant to the curriculum. In some approaches, students choose the thematic topic. Themes should also be topic of interest to the teachers because successful thematic instruction often requires additional research and preparation. The second one is integrating the theme with the existing curriculum. Upon choosing the theme, the teacher needs to organize the learning objectives of the curriculum around the theme. When students learn through a theme, they are learning in context. This not only helps students understand what they are learning and why they are learning it, but also to attach ideas and skills to specific contexts.
Designing instructional plan. At this stage, thematic instructional planning usually involves making adjustments in these elements, especially making appropriate choices of learning strategies, activities, experiences, and learning materials related to the theme. Some questions to ponder at this stage could be: which areas of spoken and written vocabulary can and my learners work for spelling and written this theme? Which areas of grammar could we accommodate with this theme? What genres of writing could my learners write in using the theme as the starting point? In what way can the learners and make the theme have a visual impact in our classroom? So the instructional design process consists of determining the needs of learners, defining the end of goals and objectives of instruction, designing the planning assessment tasks, and also designing the teaching and learning activities to ensure the quality of instruction. For example, your activity is demonstrated on stage. He all knows that instructional plan he organized. We must step by step for student be able to understand. So the student can understand is better. The second one is encouraging presentation as the thematic approach is gathered toward holistic and content oriented. It is much more meaningful to the learners if they could be given the opportunity to present their work by the step encouraging presentation. For instance, when you report presentation should be creative in your reporting to motivate the student and also on how to confident in the front of people, because confidence is very important for those students to deliver their reports.